Hello, and welcome to your guided tour of this illustrated infographic from Academic Communication Equity, British Columbia, or ACE-BC. The title appears at the top and reads, Accessible Learning in Online and In-Person Settings. The Experiences of Deaf, Deafblind, and Hard of Hearing Students During the COVID-19 Pandemic. Next to this, a subtitle reads, A Visual Summary of Key Research Findings, based on data collected from surveys and focus groups with 19 students from various post-secondary institutions in BC. Down in the bottom right corner, we see some additional credits. Research by Dr. Alfia Batalova. Infographic by Min Nyo, thefuselight.com, and the logo for ACE-BC. Before we dive into the details, I'd like to give you the lay of the land here. This infographic has a friendly and welcoming feel, with numerous colorful illustrations that look like cartoons or comics. It's divided into 3 sections. On the left side, we have Emerging Themes, which features 3 themes and accompanying illustrations. The center section is titled The Student Experience, and shows 3 sort of pathways made up of connected puzzle pieces that form an arrow leading us over to the right section, which is titled Moving Forward, At various points in the infographic, we can find an icon of a little white arrow against a teal circle. Help text at the top tells us to click icon to read more. When we click these icons, some additional text will pop up, quotes from individual students, or other supplemental information. So here we go. Moving back over to the Emerging Themes section at the left, the first theme shown reads Sense of Belonging. Here we see a circular illustration showing a person clutching a purple book and looking a little bit lost. Off in the distance, 3 more people are visible. Their body language looks very friendly and welcoming, and they seem to be waving. The second theme is Navigating Accessibility in a Virtual Environment. This illustration shows 2 people seated in front of a big screen where a video call seems to be taking place. We can see several people in squares and some text bubbles coming out. The third theme at the bottom is Worry and Anxiety about Securing Accommodation Services. This illustration shows 3 people sitting in a row as a classroom lecture takes place around the corner. 2 people on a bench seem to be watching the lecture on their devices, while a third person, who is using a wheelchair, strains to figure out what is happening in the class. Leading into the middle section, called the Student Experience, a purple dashed line points from the Sense of Belonging theme down to the bottom pathway. The first puzzle piece reads, As part of the higher education community, and we see an illustration of 3 friendly people standing outside a campus building. One of them is blind and holds a cane. Text also in this square reads, Intersectional Approach, Recognize Layered Access Needs and Equity. And here we have our first teal arrow icon. So let's click on it. When we do that, a quote pops up in a big teal text box. The quote says, In my class, the focus was only on the English language, and I felt disappointed that I had to miss out on the other aspects of a program for newcomers in Canada, Other immigrants who aren't deaf. I see them move to Canada and plug into the programs there, and it seems a smooth journey for them. End quote. Now we'll close that. Moving into the second puzzle piece of this higher ed community pathway, we see text that says, Moving away from medicalized approaches to disability accommodations. This has an illustration next to it showing a clipboard with a stethoscope draped over it. Below that, text reads, Think proactively about the learning environment, with an illustration showing people using laptops in various postures and settings. The third puzzle piece reads, Consistent services across institutions is a matter of equity. Here we see a checklist reading policies, standards, and practices, with little icons representing each of those. Now, moving back over to our themes on the left side, the Navigating Accessibility in a Virtual Environment theme has a dashed purple line pointing from it to the top student experience pathway, titled In the Classroom. An illustration of rising and falling lines, indicating audio output, is accompanied by text reading, Online classes can be overwhelming. The middle puzzle piece reads, There are positive and challenging aspects, illustrated by a person with two laptops open in front of them, looking chaotic and overwhelmed, with icons and documents floating in the air all around them. And here we have our second teal arrow. When we click on that, a list pops up of positive aspects with check marks next to them and challenging aspects with X marks next to them. The positive aspects are ability to revisit recorded materials, course materials available in alternative formats, increased use of captioning, less background noise, peripheral distraction, more instructor interest to explore UDL and improve accessibility. The challenging aspects are technology access, bandwidth, hardware and software, shortage of typewheel providers, lack of or poor captioning, timeliness of getting materials in accessible format, impact on physical and mental health, eye strain, Zoom fatigue, falling behind in class due to lack of accessibility, complex challenges for deaf-blind students. Now we'll close that. In the third puzzle piece of this classroom experience pathway, text reads, when it comes to accommodations, ... one size doesn't fit all. The words one size doesn't, fit, and all are shown on the screens of 3 different devices. Below this, the text, recognize limitations of tech, is shown next to an illustration of a person leaning their elbows on the top of a pop-up computer error message. Back to our initial themes. The worry and anxiety about accommodations theme has a dashed purple arrow pointing from it to the student experience pathway in the middle, which reads, on campus. Here we see an illustration of 2 people talking across a desk. In the next puzzle piece, text reads, positive interactions with Accessibility Office makes a difference. Below this are illustrated a text bubble reading, how can I help? An email message with the subject, how's class going? And a person holding up a device that says, any feedback for next semester? Here we also have our next teal arrow. So let's click on it. When we do so, we get 2 different quotes in a pop-up. The first quote says, they always make an effort to reach out to me. Just a quick, maybe 15-minute in-person meeting to go over accommodations for the new semester. It felt nice and personalized, like they are always there for me. It's not just an accommodation thing, more of a how are you doing and how can we help you kind of meeting. That definitely makes a big difference to me. End quote. The second quote points to the third puzzle piece we will look at next. It says, to borrow a laptop, I would have to go to the library. They'd said I can only have it for 2 weeks. And I would ask, can't I borrow it for the whole semester? They said, no, you have to reloan it every 2 weeks. Applying for some sort of government-issued laptop may have been an option, but it was going to take more paperwork and a couple of months. That was time I didn't have. End quote. So let's close that and continue to the third and final puzzle piece in the campus pathway, which reads, overly bureaucratic process to access tech and support. The illustration shows a big, chaotic pile of papers. Behind that, a pair of hands holds up a screen that says, approved, with a big check mark. Now let's move to the last section at the right, which is moving forward, ... This section is made up of an illustration showing 4 puzzle pieces fitting together to form a circle, with 4 people in the center who are enthusiastically gesturing towards the text shown in each piece. The top, largest puzzle piece reads, the goal is not to view accessibility as an act of goodwill, but as an environment of equity. The next piece in the circle reads, foster a better sense of community. The piece at the bottom reads, strengthen communication between students, instructors, and the Accessibility Services Office. And it also contains a teal arrow. So we'll click on that, and a diagram pops up. The diagram shows ideas for improvement in a circle at the center, with more text in circles surrounding the central circle and attached to it with spokes. The ideas shown are clear policies and practices, better planning process, more FAQs for students and instructors, more collaboration, have a go-to person for students and instructors, workshops, better communication among different players. We'll close that and move on to the 4th puzzle piece at the left of the circle, which reads, support meaningful participation in class and on campus. It has a teal arrow also. When we click on it, we see a text bubble with 2 quotes above and below it. The text bubble reads, "Value accessibility and thoughtful, proactive approaches to teaching and learning." Text below that is surrounded by parentheses and asterisks and reads, "Including universal design principles." The top quote reads, "It was cumbersome and awkward trying to do the small group work online. I had to say to the group, can we set things up with enough time, like a couple of days for me to get an interpreter?" End quote. The bottom quote reads, "Sometimes I just get lost because of the process, and another student will say, 'Oh, don't worry, I'll fix it for you.' And I'm like, that's not the point. I want to participate. I want to do this myself. I can do this assignment." End quote. And with that, we've now walked through every element of the infographic. Thanks for joining us.